Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wally Bell Show. We're produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for Racers Reunion Radio. We have the pleasure and the honor of having a tribute show tonight to the great Shirl Greer. And we have Van Greer and Brian Greer, his two great sons, on the show with us. We have our regular group here, so I'll tell you what, Brian and Van, we've got a heck of a group around you here tonight. If we were all in the same room, Jeff would have to put bars between us, you know? Welcome.
Thank you, Wally. It's truly an honor and a blessing to be here, and anytime we get a chance to, reminisce and pay tribute to our dad, it's always an honor and a blessing.
Well, it's fantastic. And, Brian, I just to start things out, Van, I always saw Van Greer when I raced in Bristol. I swear to God, Van, you came to Super Chevys. I saw you up there numerous times, and I just got to tell you that I used to always say this to you, but it was looking at young Shirl Greer, and Brian says he's, well, I know him. Brian says he's better looking, Van, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I was on Super Chevy. That was a good time. I remember watching you run them. You're awful good in those things.
Well, I appreciate it. But Van, you're the racer, man, and brother Brian's quite a guy in the funny cars. We'll get to that in a little bit. But back when I was a young guy coming up through, I went down to York US 30 Dragway, and the great announcer from there is on our show right on the line with us tonight. And there was a Dodge there that you couldn't look at it, guys, that it said tension on the side. And I'm telling you, it was tough on your eyes to even look at it. Tell me about that. Do you recall how your dad came up with that great theme on the side of those Hemi cars?
Well, while he was actually had told me the story when I was a kid that when he was in the service in the Air Force, he had seen a ad on the side of a bus for a headache powder. I think it was like Goody's or Anacin or Standback or something like that. It said relieve tension headaches, and the logo was that ended up on the car was exactly like, he mimicked exactly what he saw on the side of the bus. So that's where it came from, and I guess, like you said, it was kind of a headache to look at, but according to Dad, people laughed at it, but when it come time to get paid, they didn't laugh a whole lot.
Something, you hit the nail right on the head, because Shirl Greer won a lot of races. No, I'll tell you what, there wasn't any laughing. It was, I swear that I think it was an advantage if somebody was dumb enough to look over while they were staging. It could have spooked them out a little bit, Yeah,
I've got the same thing on my car now, just to tribute to Dad.
Do you really?
Logo. Yep, sure do. Just put it on there last year.
That's super. That's super,
and
Brian.
He also won, that's Van that's got it on his car, and I also want to add that I think the first time out with the logo, he also won the race, too, if I ain't mistaken. Is that right, big brother?
Yeah, I sure did, and I ended up winning a Super Chevy with it, too.
I was going to say, back when you had the Camaro, I saw you go by, and I saw a small thing on there, but I was talking to my good friend Matt Stanbaugh today, and he said Brian Greer is one heck of a funny car racer. And Matt's a nice young fella like you, and I guess you guys have touched it off a couple of times, Brian.
Well, I certainly do appreciate the comments. Never really got to go as far as I'd like to go, because I learned a long time ago it's cubic dollars, not cubic inches. So, but we still have the alcohol car and everything, and Van and I also have Dad's car, and we're trying to decide whether or not we're going to try to do some kind of match racing and exhibition with the nostalgia stuff. But it was certainly a lot of fun, and probably the coolest experience I really get that I can recall running the funny car was getting the opportunity to go and represent the IHRA in America in Aruba, and Dad and I went over there, and I think Dad had a lot more confidence in my driving abilities than I did, because he had sent me on a couple of hairy rides. I'll never forget going to Rockingham one year and had an equalized tire in the back, and we were going up to run, and nobody was getting down the track, and Dad said, if you just get it from point A to B, it's going to shake, you know. And so I've got a back tire going flat, and I'm thinking, you know, he's going to make me abort the run, but he sent me out there, and man, about 300 foot, that thing shook so hard, everything went black, and it went left and right. I crossed hands about 4 or 5 times, and I think we ended up running like a 6:15, about 2:22, and by the time I made the turn off, the header was dragging the ground where the tire was flat. So that was my first and last experience doing that, but we did get the qualifier money, so he knew what he was doing, I guess.
You know what? That's a sign of an old pro, and I know with you and Van growing up, the obvious question that I know that everybody wants to hear, what's it like to grow up the son of a Nitro Funny Car world champion, a man that Jeff Gilder, when he and I first met, and he's a King, as he told you guys earlier, he's a Kingsport, Tennessee guy. But the first thing I asked Jeff, I said, Jeff, do you know Shirl Greer? And Jeff talked about how his father even followed Shirl Greer. Shirl was a legend. What was it like growing up with Dad?
Well, I didn't know any different. I thought everybody had a funny car. Well, I thought, but yeah, it was wonderful. It was a vacation every weekend. It was a working vacation, cool. But we had a ball.
In other words, you guys, Shirl got you involved when you were young, Van? When you were just young kids, he got you out there?
With him. Yeah, we went to, I remember best race I remember we did, we went to the Gateway Nationals in St. Louis. I think it was 76. I was about 14. And another guy was with us was 16. And Dad is all it went. And we ended up going out there, and that's all the crew we had. And ended up winning the race, winning the national event. I think we beat McEwen in the final, I believe it was. I can't remember exactly, but it was us 2 little kids and Dad, and we serviced the car and got it done.
That's so cool. Now, back at that time, Brian was just a little guy, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, because he was younger. But Brian, when did you start getting involved with your dad?
Well, I used to hang around the shop. I think my first job was probably just polishing and cleaning parts, and I used to get in the car and pretend I was driving it. I think my first real fond memory was, you know, whenever I'd go racing with Dad, I would sit in his lap after we towed the car back after a run, and he let me steer it back, and he showed me where all the controls and everything were, and taught me how to do it. And I asked a lot of questions. And there was also, another time we went to a Division II race that was probably 76. I learned how to change spark plugs. Probably my first job, and pull the valve covers off. And it was Van and me and the other guy that he was talking about, and I don't even know if the guy was old enough to drive a car. I don't think any of us had a driver's license at the time, but it was just the 3 of us. It wasn't a national event, but it was a points meet, and we ended up winning that race too. So I mean, kind of reminded me of that movie Kenny Rogers, you know, the six-pack that he was in. Because I mean, Dad was just smart enough and on the ball enough, and he could show you what he needed done, and as long as you liked him enough and kept up with your nuts and bolts, man, he usually make it happen. When it come time to get in the car, he could always get the job done.
Well, I'll tell you what, yes, he was Shirl Greer, no doubt about it, one of the best nitro drivers I ever saw. In fact, a friend of mine the other day said, you know, John Force reminds me of Shirl Greer. He's going A to B. If the car's on fire or if it's raining out, he'll still go to the other end. And I that's a nice compliment for somebody to throw, you know. And
absolutely.
What is it about you guys in Tennessee? Gordy Faust is one of the smartest guys I ever met in my life, and here we got Shirl Greer and these 2 great sons that come right along and pick right up on it. There must be something in the water up there. I told Gilder that because Jeff's a oval track champion, motorcycle champion, and there must be something in that water up in Kingsport.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
God, I swear.
They say it's where the moon comes over the mountain in gallon jugs, but we don't know about that.
You don't know it. Yeah, you wouldn't know about that, Brian. I know. You know, if I know it's the toughest thing in the world. Brian sent me an email, and I'm sorry, Brian, it was a post on Facebook, and I swear to God, I've thought about my father ever since I read it. I had a great father also, and I'm so proud of you guys because you cherish the memory of your father, and a lot of guys miss the boat, and they don't realize just how important your dad can be to you. And it's so when I ask you the question, what was it like growing up with him? Well, you more than answered that. I want to move on, and Van Greer, I want to ask you something. Did Shirl like that little Chevette?
Yeah, it's a little Escort, actually. Yeah,
oh, is that?
He liked it. It's an Escort.
Well, you can see how I'm losing that now. You can see
I
that.
took all the emblems off. It's got a Chevrolet motor in it.
Okay.
It is actually an Escort. Yeah, I got it real cheap off of racing junk, and he thought it was real neat. And I wish he could have seen the tension on it. I wish he could have seen that, really. But yeah, he liked it. He thought it was a pretty neat little car.
Well,
it's
that's
a Swift Sport.
That's what it is. That sounds right. But Brian, I saw that and I thought, good grief. I wonder what Shirl would say. Van, what you got there, son? You know.
Yeah.
Listen, we got a caller on the line. Bill Pratt, how you doing this evening?
Hey, Wally, doing good. How's it going, guys?
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Doing great. I just wanted to call and say hello because although we didn't spend a lot of time with Van, we had Brian race for us as a funny car driver back in the old Classic Thunder days in the early 2000s, and he always did such a good job getting down some right rough tracks, and we had a lot of fun doing it. I wanted to call in and say howdy.
Oh, terrific.
Thank you very much, Bill.
And Bill, you know, I was going to say, you and Bill, I know you guys go back a ways, and Bill, thank you for all you do, you know, with the drag list and your Monday night show here. You're a very involved guy in this sport.
Thanks, Wally. I appreciate that. But I tell you, it's nothing like getting, you know, being in some small, you know, cowpath track and, you know, about an hour west of Myrtle Beach and trying to get down that thing with the sand fleas biting you and no traction. I'm like, that part was Brian's job, but the rest, you know, trying to get everybody lined up was mine. It was a lot of fun. We wouldn't do it a different way if I had a chance to do it again.
Well, Wally,
yes,
is
sir.
great.
I always enjoyed, you know, running the match races because I always felt like it was a lot more personable, you know, as far as getting involved with the fans. And you know, you always did a great job of getting everything organized and all that. So, I mean, when you got that kind of personnel behind you, I mean, it makes everything easier. And then you got the old champ in your corner telling you which way to go. And you know, it really calms you down and makes it easier. And it was a lot of fun doing the match races. I really miss it. I look forward to getting back to doing it again soon, hopefully.
Hopefully we can get you out there again.
Well, Brian,
thanks, guys. I won't take a lot of time.
Well, thanks, Bill. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Bill.
All the best. Talk to you later.
Take care, brother.
Brian, when you were talking to Bill and talking about the track, and you had the champ right there with you, I can relate more to the champ's age, Brian, than you're just a whippersnapper, you know, so to speak. But some of these tracks, when this pro mod thing got going, okay, and Van, God bless it, you saw us on some, boy, you can't beat Bristol, you know, and some of the great, but the track you were running on down there in South Carolina, I ran a couple races down there, and I seriously said a little prayer a couple times before I left the start line, you know. They're pretty dangerous places, but what Shirl would say, it would be the same thing I'd say. They were a hell of a lot worse in the old days than they were now, you know.
Absolutely. I mean,